Good Sunday morning. I hope you're all doing great today. I would like to share one on grumbling, how we have to be so careful about grumbling and complaining all the time. So in Deuteronomy 1, verse 2, when the Israelites left Egypt, the trip should have taken them 11 days. 11 days, okay, to get over the desert. It ended up taking them 40 years. Why? Why 40 years on an 11-day trip? Rebellion. These people grumbled and complained about everything. Do you know that their clothing or shoes never wore out? This is 2.5 million Israelites coming out of the land of Egypt with Moses leading them. And their shoes, throughout all these 40 years, their shoes never wore out. And their clothes never wore out. God provided for them constantly. He provided water from a rock when they were thirsty and couldn't find water. He told Moses to hit the rock, and the rock poured forth water for them. Only God. When they was hungry and didn't have any food, manna miraculously appeared every morning, laying across the cool dew of the grass or the field every morning that they awoke. So he provided them with manna, which is a sweet-tasting bread. Only God would do that for us. The Red Sea, when the Egyptians came after them, they was blocked by the Red Sea, and here comes the Egyptians after them, and they've got the sea behind them and the Egyptians in front of them, and they're like, oh my gosh, what'd you do? Bring us out here to get murdered. And Moses calls upon the Lord, and he says, Lord, split the sea. And the Lord's like, you do it. You put your rod on the sea. And so Moses put his rod on the sea, and when he did, it just split miraculously for these guys to go across. All the Israelites, 2.5 million of the Israelites crossed over that split sea. Well, you can imagine how Pharaoh and his armies was looking on thinking, should we or should we not? I don't know. I don't think I want to do it. Well, Pharaoh said, do it. He wouldn't have told me to do it. But after the Israelites got over, the Egyptians started to cross. And all that water come piling in on them, killed them. They actually found some of the carriages from back then that was under that water from over 2,000 years ago. They actually found the carriages in the bottom of that Red Sea. That's just only God, right? Only God. And yet we doubt for him taking care of us. So a cloud led them every day which way to go. They didn't know where to go. They're in the middle of a desert. So a cloud leads them every day. And there's a big pillar of fire that appears every night for them for light, and guides them when they travel during the night as well, because it would be cooler. Only God. But the final straw came for God when these people still grumbled and complained about everything. We're thirsty. We're thirsty. What'd you do? Bring us out here to die of thirst? Or we're hungry. We're sick of manna. We're sick of manna. Just constantly complaining about everything. Do we know people today like that? Yeah. We should be thanking God for something 3 times a day. Thank him for something 3 times a day. That's a challenge to you. Okay, so the thing that really broke the camel's back with God was he says, okay, here is your promised land right in front of you. Go take it. So Moses sent out 12 spies to go spy out the land, right? And they come back and they say, there are huge grapes, so large that it would take 2 men to carry one cluster of them. That's how large the grapes was. Can you imagine? Them grapes haven't been this big. It's just crazy. And they were talking about all the wonderful things there. But, don't you hate that word, but there are giants there. Now you can read about this in Numbers 13, 17 through 33, and Numbers 14, 1 through 12. So the 12 spies gave them all this bad news. There are giants there, and we are like grasshoppers in their sight. We can't do it. Whoa, we can't fight them. And all the people started mourning and crying. What are we going to do? To looking at Moses. You brought us out here for this. Now we're going to die. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I can just imagine Moses wanting to pull his hair out and having to deal with all these people. But there was two, Joshua and Caleb, that said, no, we can do it. God said we can do it, and we can do it. Let's go. And everybody's like, are you crazy? We can't defeat them big old giants. We're like little bitty grasshoppers in their sights. So that tells you how big those giants was. Now y'all think about it. Little bitty grasshoppers? Those giants were huge. And, well, they had to have been. Look at the cluster of grapes that the Bible talks about, that it talked about. Oh, my gosh, read this story. It's so amazing. But, so Joshua and Caleb was the only positive ones that believed God. And so God was going to destroy them all, except for Joshua and Caleb and Noah, of course, Moses, of course, and Aaron and Miriam. But Moses intervenes for him. Please, Lord, he's kind of like our Jesus. He intervened for these people all the time. Every time God was just fed up, boom, Moses would intervene. Please don't, you know. And so he says, well, this group of people that's here today, they won't see the promised land. Y'all's going to roam this desert for 40 years. And those that didn't believe, they're going to die out in this desert. But Joshua and Caleb, they will see the promised land. So see, their belief, their faith, their trust in God, we can do it. They got to see the promised land. But all these others died without ever seeing a promised land. So what is that lesson for today? Number one, don't grumble and complain every day, because you will push God to his limit. You will. Eventually, you'll push him to his limit. But we must trust and have faith in him, that no matter how long it's taken, no matter how many days and days we are trudging on, we got to have faith and trust him and know that the promised land is coming. Okay? Be blessed. Love you all. Maranatha. Mwah.